everybody, and welcome to Generally Speaking, the podcast that bridges the worlds of pop culture and personal development. I am your host, Jennifer Snook. I am so happy to be here with you today. I hope everything has been going well in your world. Here is what's been going on in mine. Well, if I'm going to be completely honest, I'll tell you guys, it has been a bit of a rough week. This whole lead up to Father's Day, this is going to be my first Father's Day without my dad. And it is just hitting me so much harder than I ever expected it to. You know, it is every first has kind of been tough, but this Father's Day feels especially tough. But every time it hits me and I start to, get emotional about it, I just have to dial down on the gratitude and just remember how grateful I was to have had him. Here I go. I'm not even 2 minutes in. I'm already choking up. But I'm just so grateful that I had him for as long as I did. And I'm also just so grateful that the last 12 years of our lives together were what they were, because for so long, my relationship with my dad was just so fractious. But the last 12 years were different because I was different. I was no longer looking at him through the lens of someone who wanted him to be something other than exactly what he was. You know what I mean? Like when I was about 12 years ago, when I had my spiritual orgasm and my awakening, I realized that I needed to accept my dad for exactly who he was and stop wishing that he were something other than that. And when I did that, when I made that shift with my dad, that is when things really started shifting for me. That was truly the beginning of my consciousness and what led to my awakening. So I am so grateful for that. I am so grateful for the time that we had together, all of the years, but especially the last 12. But yeah. So happy Father's Day to all of the dads out there, to anyone who does fathering, because anyone who shows up in that capacity, in that space, it is just such an important role, and it just matters so much. So thank you to all of you who do that and step up in that way. Hats off to you, and I hope you have a wonderful Father's Day. Speaking of Father's Day, it also happens to be my middle daughter's birthday. My Taylor turns 28, you guys. I cannot believe she's going to be 28. Blows my mind. But that always makes me emotional too. I mean, my 3 favorite days of the year are my kids' birthdays, and I always get emotional leading up to them because, I mean, truthfully, the most beautiful things in life are what make me the most emotional. The sad stuff doesn't really get me. It's the stuff that I have to be grateful for that just reduces me to a puddle of tears every time. How I got so lucky, I do not know, but I feel so incredibly blessed every single day, even on the shitty ones, truthfully. We are only covering 2 shows today. We're covering the reunion of Summer House, and we are covering Jersey. But there is so much good, juicy stuff happening out in the world of reality. I want to call Christie in and bring her in early because I want to get into it with her. So let's call our girl. Hello, my love.
Hi, my Jen.
I'm bringing you in early today because I want to talk about all this juicy stuff that's going on. But I just left off with what's happening in my world, which is why I'm probably still tear-stained, because I was talking about the fact that this is my first Father's Day without my dad.
Without Al.
Yeah, without Big Al. My poor brother called me yesterday. It was his birthday, and he called me all choked up because it was his first birthday without my dad. And I'm telling you,
the firsts.
Yeah, the firsts are brutal. They're genuinely brutal. But anyway, yeah. I'm now officially composed, and tell us what is happening in your world, my love.
In my world,
please tell me something funny.
Oh shit, I started my day yesterday at the DMV. I had to get, my license was expired on May 22nd, my birthday. So I was driving around with an expired license.
Oh, horrible.
Yeah, but I was thinking, really, in this world, is this the worst thing? No. So I just looked at it as nothing.
Oh, okay. Well,
So
thank God you didn't get into an accident, and then your insurance
anything.
would have been null and void. But
Right. I was just putting it out there that I'm good. And I don't drive a lot, because I work at home.
right.
So anyway, I started there at the DMV, which smells horrible. They need more lighting and they need fans.
The lighting, nothing's worse than the DMV overhead lighting. It's the worst. It is the worst.
Yesterday, I said to Mark, would you rather sleep under a car with a dead possum this close to your face at the DMV for 48 hours? And he said the possum. So anyways.
That's tough. I'm going to have to think about that.
So after that, I had to go buy Succulents, which is over at the coast. So I drive through Gilroy, our beautiful town. And it's just, when I drive through there, it's our soul. You know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
But it's so different too. I feel it, but also driving through when it's physically different is weird. But there's so
the same, but different.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I get to the place where I buy Succulents and it's all dirt and it's in these greenhouses. And I go down this one aisle and I come out and I go down this next one and I see this chicken had buried itself in this hole. And I thought, oh, Jesus, there's eggs, maybe. And there's another one.
Buried itself.
Well, like there's a hole, like a hole, not buried it, but she dug a hole.
Okay. So and so her head is in there or her body?
No, her body. So I thought that maybe there was some eggs underneath her, right?
Oh, got it. So like she created a seat for herself.
Yeah. So
got it.
And then there's the rooster next to her. And
hey, baby.
Shit, I can't go down there. They're going to attack me.
You think?
I mean,
oh, baby. I mean, if they were sitting on an egg and they're getting protective.
Eggs,
yeah.
Yeah, so they kind of screwed me. So I had to go all the way around and look and then go back and then, yeah.
So you were held hostage by a chicken?
2 chickens. Yeah, so I got all my Succulents and...
So you worked around the chickens?
I did.
Okay. Well, thank God.
Yeah, so that happened. But yeah, just doing.
Okay, so... let's get in. What have you heard about all the Jersey cast shakeup rumors?
Yeah, so I was seeing things on Instagram about who's coming back for next season, and it's Teresa, Jennifer Aiden, Danielle, and Dolores.
Teresa, Dolores, and Rachel Fuda is what was out there. And but it was only because somebody put it out there. It was one person's opinion, but it got picked up as a fact and put out there, presented as if it was a fact. And so obviously it started gaining traction. And then like that became like
a thing,
the word on the street. But the word on the street was actually just one person's opinion.
Yeah, because why would they have Dolores, who doesn't really bring shit to the show?
Those three just didn't make any sense to me. And even, I don't even really see how you come to that. Because...
so that's...
those three, I mean, it's... You know what? How have you seen it? How do you see it? How do you think it should play out, the cast shakeup? I mean, truthfully, knowing what you know about Teresa and Melissa and the 2 different camps.
I think they should give them a break. Melissa and Teresa go off for a year. You're on pause, right? That's what they call it. I think they should be paused. But then they're going to have to bring in, was there talk about Snooki? Bringing Snooki in?
No, I think that was
her wanting to be.
Yeah, that was just her wanting to be considered. But Andy made it very clear a long time ago that she's just off the table just because she is she's Jersey Shore. Cool. She's a different show.
Yeah, which
she's a founding member of a different show. Why would we don't need that cross contamination.
Yeah.
Not that it's contamination, but you know what I mean. We just don't need that. So I ideally think that Teresa is the one that created this chasm in the cast. It's It was not Teresa and Melissa. It was Teresa, if you remember at last year's reunion when she said, "Oh, you're not coming back next season," right? She put that out there like it was a fact. And then when she realized that that indeed was not going to happen and people questioned her about it, that's when she's the one that said, "Well, if she comes back, I'm just not going to engage." It was her saying, "I'm not going to engage." So of course, Melissa's going to say, "Well, if she's not going to engage, then I'm not going to engage because I'm not going to sit there and, I mean, what's Melissa supposed to do? Just chase her down the whole time?"
Right. Talk to her, the back of her head.
So I don't like this narrative that everyone is saying that it's the two of them, because truthfully, it was Teresa that created this. And I think that, I mean, if we're going to be completely fair, I think that the person that should be let go and removed from the equation is the person that created the confusion and the chasm, and the one that said that she wasn't going to play nice, and that was Teresa. But I also know that if Teresa and Louie get the boot and Joe and Melissa stay, it'll be absolute pandemonium. Their cops will be involved. I mean, I just cannot imagine how that would go down. I mean, how in God's name would that go down? And I mean, because truthfully, I think that they completely depend on her housewife's paycheck. I don't think that he's brought home a paycheck for quite some time. And did you hear all that stuff that's out there about Vanivia, his latest venture with Vanivia?
Owing people money for
like a lot of money. The company can't pay. So if the company can't pay its bills, it's not going to be able to pay its salaries very soon. And, you know, I mean, that's the problem. And then when you spend so lavishly, how do you ever in a million years keep that up if you don't have that steady stream of income? That's the problem. I think Teresa has gotten really cocky over the years and just...
Aren't they in Paris right now?
I think she takes that paycheck for granted. They were in Paris, yeah. I don't know if they're still there, but yeah, they were.
Yeah, takes that paycheck.
Four of them.
Yeah, takes that paycheck for granted is right.
And it's not cheap.
No, that house. But I would really miss Joey Gorga. I love him.
Well, that's okay. So let's get back to it. So if you do take them both off the board, which I do think for the sake of like a social experiment could be interesting, just remove it. Like, just remove that overarching dynamic. You know what I mean? And then leave everybody else. And it would be very interesting to see how they all integrate and how things shake out between them when you don't have those two distinct camps.
Heavy.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
I do think that could be a very interesting alternative. I don't like thinking about Melissa getting... truthfully, I would love for Melissa to continue because I don't think she has done anything to deserve losing her position. I don't. I think she has done the opposite. So would it be fair? I don't think it would genuinely be fair, but I also know that life isn't always, and it doesn't, in the world of reality TV, it definitely doesn't have to be. And then give them some time, just like they put this on pause. Yeah, and let them grow and breathe and let their personal dynamic kind of play out without the pressure of the cameras.
Exactly. I like that.
And let that family kind of find each other again outside of that spotlight. Because while everybody's watching them like this, nothing's gonna, there's no space for give. Yeah. Yeah. It's like they're
Rosie and what's Rosie's sister?
Kathy.
Bring in the cousins.
Bring in the cousins.
Lose her mind.
You know what? Truthfully, that's actually a really good idea.
Because they were on the show.
And her husband was a hoot. What was his name?
Yeah. Right. I could see him. He looks like the actor on...
he looks like Jeff Goldblum.
Yes.
Yes, and exactly.
2 kids and...
Oh my gosh, what is his... That's going to drive me crazy. But yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. Hello, Bravo.
Hello, Bravo, Teresa.
Hello, Bravo, because that is a great idea. It's almost like, it's almost like family would be holding the place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very
And
interesting.
Teresa just started her new podcast this Wednesday. What's it called? Flipping tables, flipping out,
Turning the tables, my sweet. It's called Turning the Tables.
turning the
Oh,
table. Did you
listen,
listen to it?
did you?
No. I listened to so much other great stuff that I don't have time for that.
Well,
No.
I'm going to tell you, I actually did listen to it. And I have to laugh because Teresa is posting it everywhere that she is #1 on Apple Podcasts. And she may be, but not for the reason that she wants to be. It's just because, sad to say, people do love a train wreck and people are just completely curious. It's just curiosity that is driving.
It's like Rachel Rochelle or Raquel, the same thing.
Oh my God, that's enough. Yes,
it's still happening.
I know. I heard that she on that, not to jump ship real quick, but I heard on that she was saying that she can't wait to watch Traitors so that she can witness Tom Sandoval's manipulation, you know what I mean, from this angle. And I sat there thinking, isn't it's so gross the way she is constantly talking about his manipulation when truthfully, I don't see how her level of manipulation was any less. She was sitting there having conversations with Ariana about Ariana's sex life
and the relationship. Exactly.
Hello?
Same bullshit.
She really needs to just do herself a favor and stop talking about that whole entire situation.
Yeah.
Stop. I mean, like, go become a kindergarten teacher or something. Truthfully. You know what she reminds me of? Like, she reminds me of the kind that would become a teacher and then she'd be on the cover of Time magazine
doing something inappropriately with
with a sixth grader. No, more like a sixth grader who, you know, she reminds me a little of that Mary Kay Letourneau.
Oh yeah,
just so like dingling.
Can we talk about Traitors for 1 second, about Lindsay Hubbard, who is not on Traitors anymore?
And she's not on Traitors because she is with the baby. And I'm telling you something, I did a video about it. And at the end I said, and I'm so excited for Lindsay. And you should have seen the blowback that I got because of that. Everybody's like, that poor child. I can't believe she thinks that she should be a mom, blah, blah, blah. And I think Lindsay is going to be an epic mom. I think she is going to be a fabulous mom.
Same.
I'm a big Lindsay fan. I really am. I think she is. I like Lindsay a lot.
I like her this season. And I'm happy that Sierra is taking her place, our little beauty queen.
I'm so excited for Traitors this season. I love that show.
Always. It's great.
I'm also so excited for Orange County.
Yes, I can't wait for us to recap that.
I am so very excited about Orange County. Let's see, what else are we? Oh, you know what else I want to talk about? Because I've been seeing a whole lot of this online this last week. All of these videos talking about how Louie, look, oh my God, Louie was so patient. Everybody's wondering why Louie in that scene, in that face-to-face with the Fudas, why Louie was so quiet.
Yes.
And everybody's like freaking out thinking, oh my God, he's like a new guy. Oh, he's being so respectful. You know, he's a whole new person. He's not anything. He was just doing nothing but listening to Teresa's very strict instructions to keep his mouth shut because that's exactly what she told him to do. She, on her Namaste Bitches podcast, did you listen to that ever?
No.
Well, on that podcast, she said so many times that she would say, you know, last year, Louie really thought he was helping, but, you know, he just doesn't know this world like I am. So this season, he's not talking. I've told him, like, she literally said to Melissa and the whole world that she laid it down with Louie, like, basically, you made a mess of last season. I'm in charge. I'm going to do the talking. You follow my lead.
Be seen, not heard.
100%. Like, even Teresa can deduce the fact that every time Louie opens his mouth, things go south. It's just like a very simple equation every single time.
Wow.
So that is why he is sitting there. But and people are like, oh yeah, oh he's a
'Cause
whole
it's
new
a
guy.
man. They were saying because it was a man that he wouldn't speak back because man against man. That he
No,
was
it has nothing
yelling.
to do with man
Right.
against man. It was nothing to do with anything like that. And you can see there's a little millisecond in there where he does speak, where he like slips and he starts to speak, and you can just see the venom in him when they were talking about who's going to go first, and he goes, "You go first."
Yeah.
And then he caught himself, and then suddenly little Louie, Mr. Hothead, is suddenly playing it so cool, and he just turns into a church mouse. But it's only because
but a
he
fake
had
church mouse.
yeah, and it's only because he had such strict instructions not to, because he made such an absolute shit show of things last season every time he decided to say something.
Exactly. So just let Teresa be the burning.
Yeah, it was so funny. So Teresa would be like, you'll see this season, Louie's really quiet. And I'm sitting, and here we are, like halfway through the season, and he's just,
Yeah.
he just sits there, doesn't say anything, but he does get redder and redder and redder.
The redness of it is unbelievable.
It's interesting.
Is it sunburn? Is it a sun? You know, it's so much sun.
I don't know what it is.
It's a lot.
It's very interesting. We should consult a dermatologist.
Louie the lobster.
No, 100% Louie the lobster. Then, you know what else? Everybody's also, there's all this other speculation about Paulie and the brothels, and that being the reason why he's not divorced yet.
Right.
I think it's probably just a complicated financial situation. And
right.
And I'm sure it probably would be in that instance. Doesn't make him a bad guy because he owns a brothel.
No, not at all. No.
Right? Let's move into New Jersey.
Yeah.
Because it's getting crazy. So Teresa, the show starts this week with Teresa getting a visit from her new bestie, Jackie.
Right.
And Jackie is just so happy to be there.
I haven't been here in so long.
Because according to Jackie, she just wants to be around nice people.
Yeah. And Teresa's
people who make her happy. Oh God, Teresa's eating it up. And then so while they're at Teresa's hanging out, that crazy brunch got brought up. And Teresa tells Jackie that she just loves powerful women. And now the two of them can be friends because now she's standing in power.
Power. Exactly.
And Jackie, and then Jackie goes, well, you know what's so great is that the energy from you and Jennifer is just so fun and light. And that's really what I'm looking for.
Is she doing this just to stay on the show because she's a friend of?
Yes.
It's like, yeah, right?
I do. I think she knew that she would get more screen time if she jumped ship.
Played nice with the wolves.
And then Jackie turns to Teresa in some of the most horrible acting I've ever seen in my entire life and says, Teresa, I have to ask you, how did you stay so calm when Rachel Fuda was coming for you?
Teresa was not.
And Teresa goes, I just eat her up and spit her out. And I'm like, oh my.
And she says, and that's why I had to go to, I excused myself to go to the volleyball game.
No, you mean the volleyball. The volleyball. Then Marge calls Rachel from vacation for a quick catch up on what went down at that brunch. And Rachel tells her that Teresa asked if John parked cars.
Right. And then Marge says, well, you should have told her something about at least he has a job. Louie,
and isn't mooching off his wife.
Right. I love
Which is
Marge.
so true. I love Marge. I mean, truthfully, as long as Marge stays, I'm fine. Marge is truthfully my number one right now.
Same. Well,
I love Marge.
Yeah.
Then over at lunch, Dolores expresses to Paulie that she's starting to feel a little annoyed by the lack of progress that they're making in their relationship.
And says to him that I may just walk away if you don't,
Well, yeah, she fully tried to yank his chain just to get a reaction.
Yeah. And he said, if you feel like you need to walk away, you can walk away.
And quite frankly, maybe you should do it sooner rather than later if you're even contemplating something like that.
Yeah.
And I really I loved it. I
Yeah.
loved it because he's like, listen, I feel like he's like, I'm being fully authentic with you. And if you're going to mind trip yourself and allow yourself to get all caught up in these milestones that's supposed to happen here,
Has to get married.
instead of just trusting the process and, then
Yeah.
then go. And I loved it. And you could see her, she was just like,
yeah, because same thing. Because her ex-boyfriend, what was his name? David. She has commitment, that she needs a commitment.
she wants a commitment. But I mean, truthfully, I'm pretty sure she already has a commitment.
Yeah.
She has a commitment.
I hope she pulls her head out of her ass and stays, because I love them together.
I really love them together too. Then over at Danielle and Nate's, she's putting all the final touches on her big Bougie Kids Fashion Week debut.
Bougie Kids in New York.
And she's fully bummed that her parents aren't going to be there, but fully juiced up that her godmother is going to be. Then it's time for the big soiree out on the golf course. Yeah. And while the girls are on a break from passing out cans, Melissa tells everyone that she has indeed invited Jen Aiden over to her housewarming because she's trying to walk the walk in moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think her and Jen Aiden are good when they're good. I
think Jen Aiden knows that Melissa is a cool ass chick and really wants to be friends with her, but is terrified of Teresa.
Teresa's wrath.
Yeah.
And Marge, I love Marge driving. Nothing scarier than being in a golf cart with a crazy driver.
But there's nothing more fun than being that crazy driver. Right? There's nothing more fun than being that crazy driver. While the boys were knocking balls around, Joey Gorga asked Paulie when he was getting divorced.
And Paulie says,
soon.
Right.
Paulie says soon.
I think he just said it to shut him up.
It'll be really interesting to see if Paulie does, in the end propose to Dolores, or I feel like he will. I don't think he's the kind of guy that would say soon to Joe Gorga if he didn't. You know what I did think was kind of interesting? What was the scene when Dolores, when he talked about the fact that he said he was gonna do it last year or something, and then he said, but something came up. Do you remember that? She said, yeah. She said, you said you were going to do it last year. And then he goes, yeah, I did say that. And then something came up. And I'm like, what was the something?
What came up? Yeah, I don't remember. I don't know.
Well, he said something came up, and I would like to remember. What?
The men together are amazing too. When they're pulling their pants down and putting the tea in their butts, and
I'm telling you something. I know online so many people give Jersey shit and say, oh, it's not the guy's show. It's not the guy's show. But
they're a big part of the show.
It a little bit is. And I think that it is an absolute, I think it's golden when you can have different levels of entertainment where you can have the women. There's no overshadowing. There's room for everybody.
Yeah.
And I think it's awesome when you can have, like, basically what I think they are is just like an incredible supporting cast.
The Househusbands. Amazing.
Yeah. And occasionally you cut away to them. And when you do, it's funny every time. Like, how do you turn away from that? Why would you say no to that?
Exactly.
Oh, it has to be all women all the time. Why?
No.
Give the boys a little space to be boys. I think it adds a great balance to the show.
Same. Love them.
Especially Joey Gorga, and which is why, like, that's what we were talking about earlier, right? Like, if you get rid of Melissa, then there goes Joe. And truthfully, I think Joey Gorga is like the other star of the show.
Oh, he's gold, and Andy loves him on Watch What Happens Live. Who doesn't love him besides
what's not to love?
Right.
I mean, Joe's one of those guys where he might not say everything right, but you know that his heart is always in the right place.
And he's always a good time.
And truthfully, and that is the most important thing in life. I'd rather have someone who is authentic over appropriate every time. And of course, I don't mean, inappropriate in a way that crosses boundaries on people, but I just mean, I want someone who is going to give me the down and dirty, raw, who they are every time. And that's what you get from Joe Gorga.
Exactly.
And I'm sorry, but you just can never go wrong with that. Ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody likes the feel of a fake.
No.
Joe Gorga is anything but fake. Louie, just the opposite, right?
Louie. Oh, Heather McDonald actually was talking about Louie this week on her podcast, that she brought out. Remember, Heather did a video of her and all her girlfriends reenacting what Louie did, his apology tour when they were all top, no shirts, and he's saying, "I'm sorry."
Oh, the warrior, when he was doing the warrior thing. Yes.
Yeah. Tell her this. And so Heather played her video this week and was talking about
hilarious
Louie this week.
It's literally the absolute most hilarious.
Yeah, it was a great. And she's saying they're not going to come after me for this, but they come after other people for talking about him on the show. It's like,
hello, he has me blocked, I told you.
Yeah, I love telling my friends that.
Telling your friends that.
I do. And he has you blocked for a reason.
It's so ridiculous. I told you the funniest part was when I went to look up, somebody had mentioned Louie, and I went to look at his page
to see if
and I couldn't find it. And I'm like, oh, maybe he's taking a social media break. No, he has me blocked. Hold on, I have to get the charger.
Okay. My favorite thing that you did this week on TikTok was you sang Louie, 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 Louie.
No, Screwy Louie.
Screwy Louie. That you were singing the song of the summer.
Screwy Louie.
I couldn't believe when I watched your TikTok. I said,
Screwy Louie. Screwy Louie.
Yeah.
Screwy Louie.
That's one of the reasons he has.
I'm telling you something. I could really write a couple verses that would be hilarious to that.
Instead of what would Jesse Solomon do, you can top him on the charts with.
You shouldn't have said that.
I know. I know.
You just I think I know exactly what I'm doing this weekend now.
Of course you will, you little theater kid.
Screwy Louie. Oh my God. You want to sing back up? Screwy Louie.
I love it.
They're in New York. It is bougie fashion show.
Cute. It was so cute. It was great.
I got emotional for her. I mean, the wind can change directions and I can get emotional for someone, but it's always when something works out for them and when something goes so well. And I was just so happy for her. And you could just tell it genuinely meant so much to her.
And I love Melissa was there.
I love that Melissa was there. That was so great. And it was genuinely cute.
It was really good.
And then this is where it gets, this is really good. Then Teresa, Louie, and all of their Namaste Bitches merch. This is my point. She was still recording Namaste Bitches when they were filming Housewives. And that's what I'm saying. She would talk about it on that pod. That's why she would say, see, you'll see Louie's being quiet. And there you have it. So they're in the backyard with all of their Namaste Bitches merch on, and
at Louie's house, which you're now calling it Louie's house.
Yes, not their backyard, Louie's backyard, because of the fact that she is not on any title of that house. She is on no paperwork. She has no legal rights to that house. Oh my God, poor Teresa. So they're in the backyard, and Teresa says to Louie, I really wish John Fugazi would say sorry to you for putting a false narrative out there. Teresa says, those people need to stop talking like that. I could sit there and say things about her too, but I don't want to be that person anymore. I don't. They don't want to see that Teresagiudice because she's not pleasant.
And then Louie's telling her.
Yeah. Then Louie says, if you got to go back and grab that old Teresa, she's there. Then Louie says, and if I got to go back and grab the wolf, I live with two wolves every day, Teresa. It's which one I feed, I
decide which one I feed. I got this one.
Yes. Oh my God.
Oh my God, you guys are amazing.
Then we cut to John and Rachel getting ready.
Budas.
John predicts that the meeting will turn into a shit show because according to John, she's not rational. And if it goes sideways, let it go sideways. Then it's time for face off at the OK Corral.
My favorite is them ordering 2 shots before each. We'll have 2 shots each before Teresa.
I know. Hilarious. In a hurry.
Yeah. Smart.
Very smart. Excuse me, we'll get there early.
Yeah.
And then Teresa and Louie. Oh, did you see Teresa and Louie pull up? And did you see how he really laid it on so thick when they were
Looks
walking
so
in?
beautiful, babe.
You really do. He's
Yeah.
just so drama, isn't he?
He just gives her what she needs.
Then they walk in the room and John says, Teresa, Lewis, how are you? And Teresa goes, hi, thanks for meeting us. John says, so where do we start? And a very red Louie says, you start. And John goes, I don't think it's appropriate for us to start, for me to start. And
Right.
Teresa goes, oh, okay, then we'll start then. We'll start. And then did you see before she could start, she says, but see that over there? And she turns, and she points to that gift and she's pointing out a gift that she brought for her brother Joe's housewarming.
Exactly.
I mean, I've never seen such, that's like the epitome of mixed messaging. So which is it? You're building bridges or they're dead to you? I mean,
you're burning up. Yeah, right.
So ridiculous. But then John goes, yeah, speaking of your brother, that's one of the reasons I'm sitting
That
here
I'm
today.
here.
Yeah,
right.
I have a lot of respect for him. He's a really good guy. And Teresa goes, well, I heard you had a lot of respect for me too.
Yeah, had.
And that's what Louie told me. And then she goes, and to be honest, I really felt like we had a connection too, John. And then he goes, well, then what changed?
Where did it go? Right.
Yeah, then why did you start going around calling me a drug addict?
Right, a drug dealer.
A drug dealer, and yeah, exactly, a drug dealer. And she goes, well, if you heard that I called you that currently, then I'm sorry.
It doesn't matter, past tense, it doesn't matter when you said it.
Then John says, what verb did you use?
Right.
And she says, I heard that someone in your past said you were the biggest drug dealer. John says, I came here for an apology and I'm not hearing it. You took that information from a criminal who manufactured crystal meth. And Teresa goes, shh, that's Jaden's mom.
But you didn't care about Jaden while you're talking shit.
And Rachel goes, no.
I'm his mother.
I'm Jaden's mom. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Which I thought was great. And Louie was like,
right.
Let's see. And then what else?
And he told her I was in a car, she ran me over across the street.
Yes. John tells her, you don't even know what happened. This woman at this actual location across the street pulled the wheel on me and put me into a telephone pole at 55 miles an hour. That's who this girl is. You owe me an apology.
Yeah, that's horrible.
And then Teresa goes, well, then you apology.
Right.
And then you guys threw the first punch. I never throw the first punch.
I never throw the first punch.
John goes, you know what? Conversation's over. This hasn't been an authentic apology. And Teresa says, John, you owe my husband an apology because you hurt his business by putting a false lie out there. You started this. I never throw the first punch.
We're out of here.
Yep. John goes, we're out of here. And then Teresa's still screaming, you did this. You brought up his name first. Yeah. John goes, there's one thing you don't get. You're going to apologize or this conversation is over. And Teresa goes, I did. And John goes, you did not. And then as he turns away, she turns right back into her true self. Bye, John Fugazi.
John Fugazi is right.
She always reveals her true colors. Bye, John Fugazi.
Yeah, she's got to have the last.
Always. And John turns around and says, just remember, you're the poster child for mortgage fraud.
Right.
And you're a money launderer.
And if I need my money laundered, I know who to call.
Yeah, I'll call you.
Yeah.
And then she screams, drug dealer.
Yeah. God.
And that's where we left it.
She lost her namaste.
Because she always reveals her true colors. She can't keep her cool. She doesn't know how. If everything doesn't go according to the script as she planned it, because she has no bandwidth. So there's no play there. It either goes exactly according to script, all right,
or I go crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a sad state.
It's great to watch.
It is great to watch. Okay, so now we're well, I suppose we're still over in the East. We're going to the summer house reunion.
The summer house reunion that turned into something I was not expecting.
It was a lot.
It was
Genuinely a lot. The reunion starts out and there is clear tension in the air before even like a word is spoken. And I feel like one of Andy's first sentences were to Kyle and Lindsay, and he said, "I'm so glad you guys didn't get married."
On behalf of America.
Yes, on behalf of America, I'm so glad you two didn't get married. And I gotta say, he is not wrong. Carl's
wearing, first of all, the socks. What is he? Carl looks like.
What's on Carl's feet?
What's on Carl's feet? His white pants forever, but the white socks with the loafers.
Anyway.
Yeah, it was a lot to look at.
Carl says he wasn't planning on their conversation being a breakup conversation.
Yeah, and Lindsay says that's a bunch of shit because you called the cameras in.
Right. You called the cameras in, and then she went into his room and asked why they wanted to film with them today, right?
Yeah.
Then she said, and for 45 minutes straight, he screamed at her.
Yeah, but, you know, and Andy keeps talking about how no one's in charge of production but production. Baloney. He called production over after they were already done filming to film. They could have said, we're done.
And I thought it was strange the way Carl kept, it was like he was all over the place. He was like, "Lindsay, you kept sticking your head in the sand. You were sticking your head in the sand." And like, what does that have to do with the fact that you called the cameras over and that she's asking you why they're there? Why are you what is sticking her head in the sand? It's like he was just reaching for sentences that made her sound like she was, you know what I mean?
Right. She was caught off guard, not knowing why they're recording. So of course
you're sticking your head in the sand. You're sticking your head in the sand. Yeah. What?
No.
She's just like, "Do you know what we're doing today? What's on the agenda? Why do they want to film with us?" You're sticking your head in the sand.
Yeah, he wasn't living in his truth.
Sweetie.
Sweetie.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that later. Then oh yeah, and not only does he tell her that she's been sticking her head in the sand, but he's been telling her to take ownership because she was in denial all summer.
She was trying to work through their problems.
And he's saying that she was in denial all summer. Well, to that, I would just like, well, like I said, I'll hold it, but it has to do with denial. Then he signed that lease a month before the wedding.
Exactly. That's exactly why, because he's complaining about, well, he says, well, I've been paying rent at your place. She said, you signed the lease.
You signed a lease
before this happened.
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So you will be paying the mortgage.
Yeah. Then we dive into the West and Jesse bromance, and Andy turns to Sierra and asks what the difference was about West and why she took such an instant liking to him. Did you see that?
Yeah. Well, because he's West.
I know.
It broke my heart for a minute.
I was so sad to see them sitting on different couches.
I was so sad. I saw him I saw it. He was on Nick Viall, and he said that he met Lindsay at a bar, and she said to him, "Oh, you should, that she got his number and was, because he had his job then. And then
right.
When he have his job, he reached out to her.
Right.
She kind of got him on the show.
Then Jesse Solomon talks about the first weekend that he was there and what a shit show it was. And they showed us footage that we'd never seen before. And that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Really funny.
Asked him if he knew what he was doing, flirting with Paige, that she was she was in a relationship. And he said, I knew it.
Yeah, he's like, I don't live under a rock. I knew it.
Right. I don't live under a rock.
But they were all so annoyed with him because he took them to that party and then they felt like he ditched them out. But I don't think that was intentional by any means.
No.
Then the flower boy thing came up between Kyle and Carl.
Girl.
And Lindsay called Carl out for blaming her about him not being a groomsman.
No.
But this is so textbook Carl. Blame, place the blame because he doesn't have the guts to stand up for himself in the first place.
Yeah, and it came out that if it was between Kyle and
the Italian.
Who would you have as a groomsman?
What is his name?
What is it?
It starts with an A. Andre?
Andrea? No, my God. And he just got married in Italy. I can't think of his name. Everyone probably listening is yelling it.
100%.
Andrea? That's a girl.
Andrea. It's freaking Andrea.
It is. Okay.
Absolutely Andrea.
So he said he would have chose him.
I know.
Over Kyle.
So he would have brought him up to the major leagues and he would have left Kyle there as a freaking flower boy.
Yeah. No.
But Lindsay said that's absolute bullshit, that it had nothing to do with her.
No, she just said, well, why don't you have them be flower men then?
Right. If you just need another space to put.
Let's make a space for them.
Unbelievable, though. And it just grossed me out the way he tried to blame that on Lindsay. He tries to blame everything on everyone else.
Everything on Lindsay.
Everyone is everybody else's issue. Oh, yeah. And also that he even said, he's so gross. He says, well, I felt like that. I don't remember what it was, but he said, but Lindsay, I felt like that. I felt like that.
Yeah, right.
But listen, sorry, facts. Sweetie, feelings aren't facts.
No, it's not it's about facts is right.
Carl told Kyle sorry that he should have fought harder, even though he didn't have to fight at all.
Bullshit.
Then Andy said there are a lot of people who think that Carl is afraid of Lindsay, and everybody raised their hands.
And then, but did you see when Carl raised his, he only did it when everyone else did it.
He only did it after Lindsay did it. Exactly. I very much noticed that. Jesse said, I don't think he was afraid of Lindsay. He was afraid of her reaction. And Lindsay interjected and said, no, what he's afraid of is conversation. He's afraid of tough conversation.
Tough conversations.
And then Carl pipes up and says, no, I'm not afraid of tough conversations. What I struggle with a lot in my life is I'm a people pleaser, and I struggle with expressing how I'm feeling and not wanting to hurt other people like her. And I would just like to say that is complete horseshit. People that are people pleasers because they don't have the strength in their own conviction. So they just give into other people, and giving into other people because you don't have the strength to stand behind what you really believe in. So then it's just easier to be a people pleaser. So you can call yourself a people pleaser and frame it that way, but it's really just rooted in your own lack of self-belief.
Yes.
Right? And that's
exactly
the truth.
That's exactly who he is.
And that's why that's him, his way of still trying to frame it like I'm a good person. I'm a people pleaser. What you are is just a person that has no conviction because you don't know what you believe in, you don't know what you want, and you don't know who the fuck you are.
Exactly, and it shows in everything.
That's the real root of it. You're not a people pleaser. That's just how he's trying to frame it.
Right, and it shows in his job choices and what
and everything. The fact that he doesn't know what he wants to do, and he doesn't know who he is. I mean, let's be real. And truthfully, that has everything to do with Carl and nothing to do with Lindsay. Because even if Lindsay was out of the picture, he would still be dealing with the same devil, right? I mean, like wherever you go, there you are.
Right.
It doesn't matter who you're with.
Exactly. There was a part, now they're talking about Paige. Paige talking about some photo shoot, you know, a lot. They were all coming at Lindsay at the end of this. It was the anti-Lindsay, but this is where it started when Paige was saying that she had a photo shoot before BravoCon, and it was done by Lindsay's friend, and she's accusing Lindsay of sabotaging the photo shoot. And I thought, sabotaging? If she sabotaged it, it wouldn't have happened. It happened. How did Lindsay sabotage her stupid photo shoot? You know?
I know. I wanted more details on that too.
Yeah, but if it was sabotage, it wouldn't have happened. And then Paige is talking about, and Danielle talking about how there was a story leaked about Paige and what's his name? What's the boyfriend? Southern Charm.
Craig.
Craig getting kicked out of the wedding.
And we come to find out that it is Dirty Danielle, who I have told you is the shadiest character. Finally, Danielle's true colors are, I'm telling you, I have been calling.
Lindsay didn't say anything, and Danielle had a chance to stand up and say, it was me. And she just sat quietly. And then, yeah, so Paige is like,
no, 100%. Danielle is the worst to me, the absolute worst.
Yeah. Doesn't need to be on it. She doesn't give us much.
Did you think it was wrong? They made a deal about that picture that Lindsay took with the girls. Did you think it was wrong for Lindsay to post that picture? Not
at all. And she's single, and look, I've got my friends with me. I think it was perfectly.
I didn't think she was weaponizing them.
Not at all. They're her friends.
Think it was just more like, I'm back.
Yeah.
I didn't see that either.
Same.
Yeah. Speaking of Danielle, I have written my next note is we find out that Danielle is as shady and desperate as I've always said. What about when she told Paige that her confessionals aren't funny? They're actually really damaging.
Exactly. And Paige says, well, actually, they are
funny. Yeah, because just like you said, that Dumois article that got leaked was by her about Craig. Who would do that?
Exactly.
Who would do that? That's like sinister. Like you're supposed to be friends with someone and you're writing an article about them getting kicked out. That's shady shit. I don't
believe he got kicked out for being too drunk. I mean, isn't that what people do at weddings? Like, how drunk and what did he do? Come on.
And even not regardless of what he did, if you're someone's friend, you don't write that unless it's hilarious and makes them look good.
Right.
Unless you're not their friend.
Right. Let the world know.
And Andy asked Danielle if she regretted leaking the story, and she said, at the time I thought it was juicy as fuck. What? And Andy goes, but do you regret it now? And I mean, and
CEO.
She's too much for me. And also, I'm not big on talking about the way people look, but
I was just going to say, you're not big on 1950s clothing.
That whole fit was just too much for me.
The
dress, the hair, the makeup,
it's just crazy that she's in charge of this business that dresses people. Exactly.
It was horrible.
It was horrible.
You know what it was? It all felt, the dress felt awkward to me. Very much like Danielle. It was just awkward.
Yeah.
Awkward.
The hair, all of it. The makeup, it just didn't flow.
Whole thing. Then the balloon guy got brought up. And yeah. And there's Danielle, and because they were talking about, what's the other gal's name?
Gabby.
Yeah, they were talking about her, how she tried to bring Gabby into it. I mean, she's always trying to fix everybody but herself. I'm sitting here screwing this guy in the bathroom. Go after him. Come on, try harder. Get in the game.
But I'm going to go be with him. Exactly.
So weird. And then the whole CEO and founder thing. I mean, she's so desperado.
It's so awkward.
It's so awkward. She is too much for me. And then it's all about Sierra and West.
Oh my God. When I saw it, when it first happened.
I had such high hopes. That's the problem.
Okay, so did you think in the episode 2, he seemed different. In the first episode, he seemed really high or something was off. Maybe he took a Xanax, maybe because he knew what he was coming into.
He probably did. I'm sure most of them do, just to ease the nerves a little.
Yeah, but he was really different from his normal. But okay, yeah, so we learn about Sierra.
We learned that they were together for like 4 months. They went back to his hometown.
September to December.
Yeah, they went back to his hometown. They went to stay with his brother in Chicago. They went to a wedding. They were like fully in couple mode.
But they weren't a couple.
A couple.
So that's what unbroke my heart. She knew what she was getting into because he told her the whole time.
Well, she also told him, if you're not willing to commit and you want to cut and run, I think she was pretty clear about wanting a commitment before she carried on.
But she stayed knowing that he wasn't.
Well, I mean, you got to give him some time to change his mind, right?
I don't know. I was really, really sad. And then I just was like, wait a minute. She chooses these men that, you know, her picker is just like it was with Austin. They're not going to commit. They're not going to give you what you want.
Well, she's also dealing in an age bracket where that's where those guys are. You know what I mean? Guys have to be ready or they don't commit. It doesn't matter how great things are. If they are not at the commitment stage, it doesn't matter how great things are hitting, because they're not ready to commit. It's literally, I think it's like part of your own personal shift. And especially for guys, once they get to that point, that's why a guy that is at that point, when he meets the one, he's like, let's do this.
How old are they?
West is 29.
Oh, that's
young.
Okay, so
29. It's his first season on a show. Like, I get it a little bit. I get it. And I think I think he cared about Sierra a lot.
Of course he did.
But
he also didn't, you know, all these girls going to a bar and all of a sudden being the #1 loved guy on Bravo.
100%.
He didn't know how to maneuver.
And that's intoxicating. I'm sure. How could it not be? And you have to really, so I get it. You know, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, you think it's completely over with those two?
Well, in the very last episode, didn't she say, I still like him? You know, of course.
I think she fell in love with him.
How could she have not? Right?
I think she genuinely fell in love with him.
Of course she did.
And I think poor little Sierra got her heart broken. And that's like 2 summers in that, but that's okay.
It's
all part of her path.
Exactly.
And it's all leading her to exactly what's meant to be.
Yeah.
And giving us all a lot of entertainment in the meantime.
Now, remember last week I told you they wrote an article about him in the New York Times.
What, did they unpublish it?
Well, after the first episode of this reunion, he was hated. People hated him. And it's just funny that the 2 that they did, the New York Times, one was the Tom Sandoval, and then the second is West.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, but I don't know. I follow him on Instagram, and you know, he's a cutie and he's all right.
Can I just tell you that I just got a message, not a message, but a Zillow listing from my sister-in-law for a house in Austin.
Shut up. How big and how much? Because we were talking about Austin.
No, this little I know, because she fell in love with Austin too. That and she can't stop talking about Austin. She just sends me this.
Shit.
Hilarious. Oh, did you see the part where Paige turned to Sierra and said, he's just he's just terrified of the public turning against him. He doesn't care about you. And that just broke my heart, because I really hope that that's not the case. I hope that
Well, a man was over there talking to him at that time, because they were on break, but they were still filming.
Yeah. But I really hope that's not the case. I hope that he's not just trying.
I think it happened after the first reunion, but after the second, I think people will come around, just like I did. It was like she had a way out. He told her at the horse riding, after they were horse riding, he told her he's not down for what she wants. And she stayed. So
then Amanda reveals her history of depression.
Big depression.
And says that she can see how Kyle felt lonely because she did too. And, you know, when someone is that depressed, that really affects your life. And that's like, I'm sure that was a big, you know, that's a big thing for them to be dealing with as a couple, and a big thing for Kyle to be dealing with and not talking about it. And I've never heard him mention her depression.
Ever. No, not at all. And it happened before the wedding and then after the wedding. So I think there's things that keep her busy, right? And your mind is busy. And then when it stops.
Right. Amanda said she would ultimately love to have some sort of brand of her own that would be an extension of her, the same way Kyle has Loverboy.
Right.
We find out that Kyle has always wanted to be a DJ.
And he's taking lessons in New Jersey. Jesus Christ.
And then we ask ourselves the age-old question, what would Jesse Solomon do?
Oh, Kyle can bring that into, you know how DJ Kennedy
mix it in.
As good as gold. He can bring in
100%. I'm here for that. You know what? We're getting to the point where there should be like a Bravo mixtape.
Right.
And then what about the whole leg touch between him and that was
Paige denying it, and there was a whole count. She did a double tap on one of them.
She did a double tap.
It got up to 7. I loved it.
I loved it too. That was so cute.
Yeah.
And then it's all about Carl and Lindsay. And then, I mean, honestly, and also I think Lindsay looked amazing. I actually think, aside from the shoes that Carl was wearing, I thought everybody looked great.
Besides Danielle.
Danielle 100% is not included in that. Everyone but Danielle, I thought looked amazing.
I'm seeing, on social media that West is being compared to Robin Williams in Birdcage, with his hair in the middle and the mustache
and the oversized
suit, his oversized suit. And then I did a side by
it's
blazer.
It's spot on. Okay, so then it's all about Carl and Lindsay. They open their package with a flashback to their engagement. And honestly, back at that engagement, if you look at how awkward that engagement was,
I thought it from when it was happening live. It was like, this is so
awkward. It just felt so unnatural, right?
Yeah.
It did not feel organic. It just felt awful from the start. Truthfully, after watching this, Carl is slippery and manipulative and using his recovery narrative as a crutch to avoid any personal accountability. I really do.
Yeah, and also having his mom and the stepdad in his corner. When he went to film with them, they're reacting to what he has told them all through the,
100%.
All of Lindsay's bad shit. So
100%.
Yeah, she changed, and they didn't get to speak on that.
She called him Cocaine Carl, and everybody freaked out. But I don't think there's anything wrong with her saying that he is behaving the same way Cocaine Carl behaved.
And that's what she felt.
That is what she felt.
She's in this relationship with him, not these people.
Exactly. And she has plenty of experience with Cocaine Carl.
Exactly.
So I'm sorry. I don't think that her saying that, calling him Cocaine Carl, or saying that he was Cocaine Carl, she maybe should have said he's reminding me of Cocaine Carl, but
right.
I mean, semantics, right? I mean,
and
come on.
coming for her because also she's against him starting this stupid sports bar, and everyone is just all of a sudden coming for Lindsay. It was like
coming for Lindsay, and I'm sorry, I will never get behind the kind of bar that he's talking about. We drink, just we don't need segregated between alcoholic and non-alcoholic. It's so ridiculous. Again, that comes down to personal accountability, which he doesn't have any. You don't have to go into this safe space that doesn't have alcohol. What you need to have is a sober spirit, because when your spirit is sober, you can go into any place and it won't affect you. It doesn't matter because you're sober here. You're not managing it here.
Exactly.
And so
we're going to watch that flop.
Then he says, I hope you know that accusing me of being on a substance that I'm in recovery from could cause relapse and even more of an issue. I've never been called Cocaine Carl in my life.
Yeah, you...
And then I gotta say, that again was just so gross, because
if you lived it, it wouldn't matter what people say.
Why was Kyle going at Lindsay so hard when she was just trying to explain her experience?
Exactly.
Why doesn't she get to have her experience and Kyle gets to talk about, well, that's how I was feeling. Well, that's how I was feeling. But what about how Lindsay's feeling?
And Paige too. Paige coming at Lindsay about her, not supporting Carl. If the tables were turned,
because they don't understand the narrative is you want to support someone who is a sober person, and of course you do, but you don't turn just because they're a sober person doesn't mean that you turn a total blind eye to their behavior or the way they're trying to use it and manipulate with it. Because exactly what he was doing.
And Paige would not be with Craig if the tables were turned and he was not working and doing, having nothing.
100%. And Kyle goes, I don't understand why you came at his sobriety the way you did. But when you know you're genuinely sober, you don't need to get that defensive.
It doesn't matter.
Why? Yeah. He really should have just said, yeah, I know I acted a little out of pocket. I could see why you said that, but no, that's like an on par reaction, not this, how could you come for my sobriety? I don't know why.
She talked about him being on mushrooms on Peacock.
Yeah, she did.
So that's California sober.
And also, I think Lindsay also has a point when they have to give each other some grace. If she's supposed to allow him space for things like weed or psychedelics, which I'm totally here for, he can't come down on her for whatever she chooses. If she wants to drink instead.
Exactly. He knows who he was going to marry.
Exactly. The poor boy routine that he's trying to play is just, and everybody says, oh, he just keeps falling on swords and he's just
falling on swords. I couldn't believe it.
Bleeding, more like bleeding out all over onto everybody. and bleeding out onto everybody just to make Lindsay look like a bigger bitch, it feels like.
Yeah, it was a bunch of bullshit.
Lindsay's being vilified just for wanting him to have a stable job.
Yeah.
And sorry, but she's not wrong about that. And if you see that someone historically hasn't been able to do something, then you are worried about your future if you're putting all your eggs in their basket.
Exactly. Starting a family and marrying this guy? No.
Then Andy talks about Carl's visit to see his mom and stepdad. And that, exactly like you said, I think was so pre-produced.
And then he shows up at the bridal shower, and says it was because his mother was there and had to sit next to Lindsay. He wanted to make himself look like
I know.
King Carl.
King Carl, desperate for some shine. Then it's the final weekend at the house. Carl tells Lindsay that he's officially having second thoughts. And I would just like to say, if your relationship gets to the point like we heard theirs did, where you have to pull out the phone and record each other, you're in the wrong relationship.
And I think Lindsay was in it, like I said, she wants to resolve all their problems, but she also was like, wait, we're not going through with this wedding, this Bravo wedding,
Exactly.
there's a lot that was given up, not just the wedding. It's a Bravo
Exactly.
wedding.
Lindsay said that she even thinks though that that ending it was the right decision, but she still doesn't think that the way he did it was the right way.
No, and if he truly loved her, he wouldn't have done it on camera. But
No.
people are trying to say that they got together on camera.
Even Andy tried to say that. And you could say that, right? You could go that way. You could also say, I have too much respect for her to do it that way.
Exactly.
Or he could have told her privately, and then together they call the producers and say,
on the couch.
We have a statement. And they could have done it together.
Sit down,
right?
side by confession.
We have a lot of love for each other, but we're not going to continue on this path forward. And that would have been a much classier way to do it.
And we would have been okay with that.
100%. 100%. And then did you hear Carl's closing argument? Andy asked Lindsay about her relationship. Are you in a relationship now? And she said, yes, I'm in a relationship and it's going in a serious direction. And we know it is.
Yeah, but what Carl said.
So what was that?
I know. I know.
So, okay. And this we are finally coming to this crescendo here. Carl says, in life, he's trying to not have all of these deep-rooted resentments. And I would just like to say the only way that Carl is going to be able to not have deep-rooted resentments with other people is if Carl finally lets go of the resentment that he holds against himself for being gay. And yes, I know I did just say that out loud. But that is it.
Was there's something about him saying his best blowjob was
in season 2. He said that the best blowjob he ever had was
from a man,
from a dude. And I'm gonna say this again. I have said it before. You do not say publicly that the best blowjob you ever got was from a dude if you're not down for it and open to that. And I sat there watching him and the more I watch him, the more I am absolutely sure that what he is really wrestling with is
his sexuality,
his own sexuality, which is sad because Carl, we come out, do it for yourself. Don't worry about what the world has to say. I mean, but the truth is Carl is as gay as the day is long. And that's okay. It all makes sense. Even those shoes he was wearing make sense. Right?
Buster Brown.
When you talked about those shoes, I was like, yeah, no, Carl is, that's why these commitment issues, that's why he doesn't know, he's never been able to commit because he's not rooted in his truth. And he's always been fighting that. And I think that as soon as he's able to admit that to himself, the sooner he's going to be a whole lot happier. That's why he had that cocaine and alcohol problem. He's been masking this for
pushing it down
time and suppressing it. Yes.
His real self.
Yes. Yeah. But you can only turn your back on your truth for so long. It keeps knocking. And, you cannot listen. You can get engaged 20 times. Sorry, it's going to keep showing up until you have the guts to turn and face it and realize that is your truth and you are worthy of being happy no matter what your truth is. And I think that Carl is finally going to find happiness. And truthfully, I'm excited for him to find happiness because the poor guy, I feel like he's been stuck in this purgatory. Who am I? He keeps putting all these labels on himself. Really what you are is unhappy because you're not living in your truth.
Right.
Start living in your truth. Everything else will take care of itself.
Exactly.
Poor guy.
Poor guy is right. But wow.
Just my take on Carl. I mean, do you concur?
as soon as I just can't believe it. Then you said, and I think he's gay.
Yeah, well, I think that I think it's really easy to project everything and blame everything on everybody else when you're not willing to admit your own part in it. And I think he hasn't been willing to admit his truth, therefore he can't admit his part.
Yeah.
And his part is that I don't belong in this relationship.
That was a lot, and that was good. I'm sad to see our favorite show done.
I'm so sad to see it done. It was so good this season.
Every week.
And I'm very excited to see where we go. Like, where are we going to go next season? I'm curious to know what's going to happen with what's going to shake out with Kyle and Amanda, because that is a lot. All right, my love. Well, it has been another wonderful day together. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Christy May's Garage on Instagram.
The Succulent Queen.
The Succulent Queen.
The Succulent Queen of San Jose. Yes, of the Bay Area. That's right. Let's broaden it.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. If you need succulents or you need what? A backyard design? I saw those patios that you're doing.
Yeah, I'm busy with people's yards and patios now.
Right. Well, this is your girl, everybody. I love you, babe.
I love you too.
Talk to you soon. Bye. Okay, everybody, that about does it for this episode of Generally Speaking. Thank you so much for being here. If you would like to follow me on socials, you can follow me on TikTok at This Is Generally Speaking or on Instagram at The Jennifer Snook. If you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on any other platform, please make sure you give us a follow. Please make sure you leave a comment. Share us with your friends, your family. Give us a 5-star rating. We would love that. If you love this Generally Speaking merch, I will leave the link in the description and you can get yours there. A huge shout out to my girl Christy for being here. Thank you for being here. And until we are together again, stay rooted in love. See you later, everybody.